Hello? Yes, yes. Sound correct. Lights correct. The green screen. Oh, there's a tiny thing here. Hold on. There you go. Okay. Am I good? Am I good? Are we all good? How's everyone doing? Okay, let me situate myself because I literally just sat here right now. Laptop here. Discord is here. Uh, Morena is here. Hi, how you doing? Hey, Tim. Very good to see you. How's life? Um, uh, uh, um, okay, I think we're ready to start. Hello, welcome everyone. Good morning. Here from gloomy, rainy Boston today. Actually, not Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's exactly where I live, actually. Anyway, good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Luis. If you're new to the channel, this is Parametric Camp. We do live streams mostly every Friday, but not quite. It's a channel on computational design. We like code, but we like nerdy code for design and creative stuff. We record a lot of tutorials here live in the company of beautiful people like Tim and Morena, who join me doing this live because it's just nicer to do this with people than doing it on your own. And then we chop, we edit, we streamline a little bit those recordings and we publish them as slightly more polished tutorials, not quite, but a little better. So if you want to know more or if you want to stay tuned, we have social media. We are particularly active on Instagram. I should probably replace the Twitter logo at some point, right? I think it's kind of obsolete at this point. Anyway, and we also have a Discord server where we have conversations throughout the week. That gives me the opportunity to get to know the community a little better and to nerd out. That's why, for example, I know Tim from the chat. And if you want to join us, there's a link in the description of this video. And if you want to know when we go live, you can also subscribe to a Google Calendar. There's also a link to that calendar in the description of this video, and then you can find out when do we go live, which is mostly Friday mornings, my time here, East Coast in the US, wherever that might find you. All right, that was the boilerplate. How's everyone doing? Huh? All righty. So what are we doing today? What are we doing today? Let me pull up my notes that I have here somewhere. Not those ones, the other ones, the good ones, the streaming ones. I have a document where I basically keep track of everything we do and everything we want to do. All right, so we are on, maybe I should show folks. Yeah, why not? You guys want to see the document? It looks something like this. This is what I take notes of what I do every time. And today is the 15th, which is my partner's birthday today, actually. Happy birthday to her. And today, what are we going to do today? Have we been doing this 129 times? Can you believe that? Should we throw a party for, what is the next milestone? 150? Should we throw a party there? 150 live streams? That could be cool, right? Anyway, so where were we? We were in the middle of a sort of informal playlist that just came about on writing web apps for drawing. This originated out of a necessity that I had for tutorials for the class that I'm teaching this semester here at the design school at Harvard. And but now the class has completely superseded like this content, so now it's more like a self-contained content in any way, or maybe content for next year, who knows. But anyway, we've been doing a bunch of different ways or different approaches or different, let's call these techniques on different ways you can draw things on a canvas in a web app. And the last video we did was a sort of like vector drawing kind of app. And actually, maybe we can pull it up. Why not? So if this is the app, and if this is Chrome, yes, if this is Chrome, where do I have the files? Where do I have the files? Hello Drawing? No. In Parametric Camp? No. In Parametric Camp GitHub? No, what is this? Oh, wait. No, this is the Parametric Camp tutorial files. Yeah, so if we go here to web-based drawing, and so if we go live, did I click go live? I did, yes, starting. And if we go to the server, web-based drawing, we must have drawing vector full. What is it? Drawing vector full. I want to see the console here. Yes. And yeah, so you can see that I can draw an ellipse. I can press R and I do a rectangle. I can press L and now I draw a line. I can change color, so I can do this and I can do orange. Yes, and then what was very cool, by the way, was that I could do the following. So I could save a screenshot, so that's S. No? Oh, what is the code? What is the code? What letters? F, PNG. Wait, what? Oh, wait. What? What? This is not this is not updated. Oh, yeah, we're missing here the export, ellipse, rectangle, line. The colors are good, but we're not exporting to JSON or... Wow, that's so weird. That is so strange. What is that? Oh, because this is the start and, oh, sorry, the full. We want the full, yes. Okay. Sorry. I got confused. So frame saves a screenshot of like a PNG, like a bitmap. But if you press J, what gets saved is a JSON representation of the drawing with the ellipse, the rectangle, the lines, etc., etc. And then what I can do, and check this out, this one is cool. I can upload and drag and drop the JSON file, and then the all the geometry gets added to the document, which is, I think it's quite cool actually. So it becomes like a way to save your files, if you will. So the question now is, at the end of last recording, that was the base video. So that's what you just saw. But then in the conversation afterwards, like all these features, we were discussing all the features that we could add to this app that would be super cool. Like, for example, adding more shapes like polygons, splines, implementing undoing, some visual feedback. So for example, we don't really know when we press the key, which color are we drawing, which shape are we drawing? We don't quite know what's going on. So having some kind of feedback on that. The possibility of editing the shapes. So you click on a shape and then you're basically selecting that shape, if you will, and then you can kind of draw and move the handlebars to affect that shape, etc. Exporting and importing from SVG, zooming and panning, like all this tiny... And the question was, this seems like a lot, and it seems like if we actually do this, it would be really cool, and we would be basically building up an entire full-fledged sort of online Illustrator, if you will, in a way, which it's kind of cool, I think, too. But then my question, or what I'm trying to think through, because I haven't thought this through. I said last week that I was going to think it through, and I haven't, is do we make, like this is a lot. Should we make like another playlist, or should we make like a different chapter of the playlist? I don't know. Happy birthday to your partner. Cakes and balloon from South Africa. Oh my God. How's the weather over there? It must be really nice. What is it like? Is the end of the summer over there? Beautiful. I've been meaning to go to South Africa for a long time. I hear the diving there is great, and there's a lot of white sharks too. Uh, that's awesome. Marine Mentor, hello. I don't know if we've met, but it's a pleasure to have you here. And Gustavo Avellaneda Malagón. Señor. Good pleasure to see you. So what do we do about this? This is my question at this point. And I guess we need to make a decision, right? Because, I mean, it would be nice to... I also have not yet published the video that we made last week. I edited it, but I still don't have... I still haven't made the, what is it called? The cover, the thumbnail, etc., etc. So, full vector drawing with the document model. Let me check. So what is the playlist looking like right now? The playlist, it's looking like here. Continuous drawing, painting with ribbons. So the next video here will be draw with click and drag. So maybe we could start 4.1. And then we could start like a set of small videos. We could set we could set we could implement a set of small videos. I mean, this should be trivial. This, I think this should be moved down the line because Control C might mean just undoing the last shape you added. But if we get more sophisticated and then we make edits, like moving things around, scaling things around, those are not as simple as just removing the last shape you added. And then that basically means that we need to have some kind of transactional system. So it gets a bit more tricky. It gets a bit more tricky. So then this is basically making an UI on top. This is its own video, so editing and blah, blah, blah. SVG can be its own video. This is definitely its own video because it sounds trivial, but it's actually not. This is... and then brush-like drawing. This is also kind of its own thing because it would require... some stuff. I don't know, maybe we could compare some common ways to implement these things as well. Let me think. And then this is the current playlist. So, okay, so how could we break this down into videos? Vector-based videos. If we broke this down into videos, actually, let me do it side by side. Maybe it's a little easier. So if we made it into videos, what would this look like? So vector-based video, the first one would be intro. to vector drawing, for example, and this could be 4.1. Then let's say the next one, adding complex shapes, and this could be polyline, spline, etc. Adding, and this would also include adding, controlling, controlling, what is it called? I'm gonna say controlling stroke color width, which we don't have right now. So that's another thing. I think the third one, because this is also already going to get adding an UI to our app. So instead of controlling the things with the, what is it called? Instead of controlling things with, I'm going to say it. Instead of controlling things with the keyboard, we control them with like some kind of panel or some kind of thing. So, and this should be also adding to an app plus feedback on drawing state. So that could be cool. What else? Edit mode. Moving and scaling shapes. So that could be another one. And then probably the next one would be zooming and panning. Yeah, that should probably be important. And then working with images. That should also be into the model. Importing images. We could also do this. Then 4.7 is going to be implementing a Control-C, implementing undoing. That could be there. Then 4.8 could be, yeah, SVG import export, for example. Import could be a lot. Definitely start with export. Export. And maybe we do import. Because import is a different beast. It's much more complicated. Yeah, I'm going to put this in parentheses. Tiny brush like. Yeah, brush drawing. So what else can we do? The brush drawing, this is going to be really cool. Because you know what we're going to do, basically? We're going to, when we go into brush mode, we're basically going to create like a tiny offsite image. We're going to be drawing to that image, and then we're going to shrink that image to the bounding box of the pixels, and then so that we can modify the image. That's going to be really cool, actually. That's going to be fun to do. And then this, we'll see about these ones. AI collaborative is cool though. We may need to do that. Well, I mean, this seems like a lot already. It does seem like a lot. But why not, right? Why not? And this could be broken down into a polyline, a spline. Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like we have a plan. Okay, how are we feeling about this? How are we feeling about this? I feel good. I feel we can do this. It's gonna take us some time, but I mean, that's why we're here. We just make things, right? Basic vector drawing app. Okay. And then maybe we post-record like a intro to vector drawing. And record later summary of the app. Yeah, and this is like we do at the very end when we have the app and we show like, hey, so here's going to be a sequence of videos about drawing, etc. that is vector based. Okay, all right. You like it? Should we do this? All right. Hey, Nicholas, good to see you. Been a while, no? All right. Okay, so we are going to then, let's just do it. All right. And what about the file structure? Web-based drawing. How are we going to do this? Oh boy. How are we going to do this? Because we already have these two. Okay. How are we going to do this? It's okay, we'll figure out. That's the least. All right. Okay, so then let me make some room here and let's start. So I'm going to start by doing what? Right, let's do this. I'm just going to rename this 4.1 drawing vector start. Yes. And then 4.1 drawing vector full. Okay. And then the next one is going to be what? 4.2. I kind of like the points since we are already, yeah. Okay, because points, dots, periods are tricky when you, okay. Drawing vector polylines. This is the first one we're going to do. All right. Okay, great. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy the last one and we're going to copy it here and we're going to start from there. All right. So now, yes, I have it here and I'm going to just get started here, go live, and I'm going to open Chrome again because I have, all right. Okay, so the next video we're going to make, folks, is we're going to extend the drawing up that we did back in the times. Back in the times, I mean last week, and which was this one. So this one, we're going to extend it to have a mode where we can draw polylines. All right? Yes. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to modify the app so that it has a stroke, so that drawings do have a little bit of a stroke. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to implement polylines. And for polylines, and we're going to implement also snapping to the last We're going to implement snapping to the left. Yes. And how are we going to do this? I don't know, but I guess we're going to have to try, right? I'm going to commit the changes, refactor of folders. All right. So here, this is the main sketch, and this is the drawing up app. And we're going to reload this. We're going to make the console a little bigger. We're going to make this a little bigger too, so that it can be seen. And I don't need downloads. Drawing app, click and drag. Oh boy. Drawing app, vector drawing. Vector drawing app. Let's call it this way. Okay. Right. Beautiful. So okay. So what are we going to start? We're going to start by modifying the app so that the shapes do have strokes. Okay? And we're going to need that. Yes, we're going to need that. And the way we're going to do that is that every time we create a shape, so we're going to add stroke color, shape mode. We're going to rename this fill color, shape mode, stroke width. We're going to add also stroke color. And all right. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's get started. Oof, it's always kind of difficult to break the ice, huh? Okay. We're going to... All right. Beautiful. Before we actually start implementing the polyline drawing, I would like to do something. First of all, I would like to explain that we're going to start from exactly the same project where we left it in the previous video, where we created the basics of this vector drawing app. And if you remember, the app did look something like this. I can create ellipses, rectangles, lines, and I can change the color, etc., etc. However, something that we didn't quite do in the previous, and I've called this project 4.2, which is probably going to be the name of this video, correct? So something that we didn't quite do and we're going to need for this video is the fact that all the shapes that we were drawing had this kind of transparent feel to them, and they did not have an outline. So now for polylines, what I would like to do is I would like to make sure that as I'm drawing the polyline, there is a stroke color for the polyline that I can clearly see. And optionally, probably, I may also want some kind of fill color for the polyline, all right? So in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to modify the previous project and make sure that we are a bit more consistent with certain things. For example, I'm going to replace shape color, all instances of shape color. I'm going to go here and say Control H, and everything that is called shape color, I want to name it now fill color. All right, and I'm going to go through the entire project and I'm going to replace all instances of fill color. All right, there you go. There you go. So I think we are good, and this should actually work very well again, right? And then if I export a file, now this JSON should have a fill color property with those values. And if I drag this JSON file, let me refresh this, and if I drag this JSON file, it loads correctly. Okay, so that's great. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to implement something very similar, but I'm going to call it stroke color. All right, and this one is always going to be, for the time being, until we improve this better, is always going to be fully opaque. All right, and then what I would like to do is I would like to make sure that I would also I'm going to change shape size, which I believe so far we were only using it for the width, for the width of these lines. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename it to stroke width. All right. And actually, I think I'm going to name it stroke W, because otherwise it's going to conflict with a P5 name. So I'm going to, yes, a stroke width, a stroke width, a stroke width, a stroke width. All right. And I think that's going to be it. And I'm going to change this to the value of 2, because otherwise it's going to be a lot. All right. So now I'm going to move this here. And then stroke color, right now we implemented it as a new variable, but it has no meaning yet. So what I would like to do is I would like to make sure that instead of no stroke, we do a stroke, and then here we do stroke color. All right. And then here stroke weight is going to be stroke W. And then we're going to basically copy paste this for all the shapes that we and then fill is going to have, this is going to be, because it's a line, it has no fill. All right, stroke weight. Then similarly, we may want to change this here and here, and for this we're going to do no fill. All right. Okay, and then, so that should work. And I think that now, shape is not defined. What is shape? 54. Yes, fill. And this is going to be called fill color. All right. What? Yes, because we have 50 here. So that's probably going to be 2. All right. So now we have this, we have a rectangle, and we have a line. Okay, so things are looking better. But I think that if we export this now, J, you can see that now I have the new file that I exported, but you can see that the shapes do not, in the exported file, the shapes do not have the stroke width, the stroke color as part of their properties. So if I now try to drag and drop, sorry, where is this file? If I now try to drag and drop, it shows up, but it shows up because it has defaults. So what I actually need to do is I need to make sure that this information, the stroke width and the stroke color, is also saved to the JSON file. So where am I going to do that? So here, fill color, and then I'm going to call this stroke color is a stroke color, and stroke weight is that. So that looks good to me. And then for line, stroke color is going to be stroke color, and this is going to be stroke width. So that looks good. And then shapes are shapes. And then when I read them, I should be good, right? So for example, where did I increase the size? Yes. So let's say that I have this, and then I'm going to increase the size. Okay, so this is not okay. So no, so something is not working well. So stroke color, yeah, I should be doing shape dot, because I'm reading from the shapes. Exactly. I should be reading from the shapes like this and like this. This is what happens when you try to do things fast, you know? And then when I let go, fill color, stroke weight. Maybe I should call this stroke weight. Yes. There you go. Okay, and now I increase, and now that shape shows up like that, and the line shows up like that. If I save this to a JSON file and I reload this, they show up with the correct widths. Okay, so I think we're good. All right, so that is already working, which means that now in my JSON file and in my document model, every shape has all the information that it needs to properly render itself. That includes the fill color, that includes the stroke color, and that includes the stroke weight. All right, so all the information is embedded inside of each one of the shapes. All right, beautiful. I think with this, and let me try this again. I think with this, we're pretty ready to, yeah, let me try this again. Save, and then I'm going to open this, and then what is the file? And then I'm just going to, yeah, I'm going to load it, and it loads very well. Okay, fantastic. So with this, we have implemented now strokes in the shapes that we're drawing. At some point in the future, in these videos, we will also make something, implement something to change the color and change the width of the stroke a bit more programmatically. But for the time being, I just want to make sure that we had some lines that we could use to properly see how we were drawing polylines, okay? So I think with that, we're probably ready now to start implementing this idea of drawing a polyline. All right, let's take a look at how to do that. All right, so I'm going to commit this, added strokes to shapes. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So what do we do now? We need to implement polylines. And how are we going to do that? I have no idea. So, what are we going to do? We're going to just try and prototype it here together live. Okay. So first of all, I should have a polyline mode. Okay. What does this look like? So here in shape mode, I should have else if, for example, key equals lowercase p, we're going to have shape mode equals quit point. I hadn't thought of that. Nah, polyline. All right. So that's the thing. Okay. Okay. Then what I would like to do is I would like to have some kind of interaction where I click here, 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 and what I get is lines joining them. So similar to right now, I'm click and dragging, and I let go. I'm click and dragging, and I let go. I click. So I would like to have some kind of more continuous. So what that sounds to me is that I may want to have some kind of additional, for example, shape. I'm going to call this shape points. All right. Which is going to be a temporary place where I'm going to add, as I keep drawing, I'm going to add points, and then I'm going to be drawing them sequentially. So shape points, and probably anytime I change to shape mode, I may want to make sure that I reset those shape points. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? What I'm going to do is, in drawing shapes continuously, Let's imagine that we're going to start this with, I don't know. For example, this is going to be, I'm going to start with a few fake points, okay? Um, let's say that I do 100, 150, 200, and then here I do 200, and then I do 100, and then 200. Okay, so let's say that we start with that. And that we start, I'm going to not, and that we start in polyline mode, all right? Let's say that we start at polyline mode. If I do that, and because I have shape points, what I would like to see is already some kind of shape, right? What that means is that here in draw shapes continuously, I think I should need to add another one. Here, if shape mode is polyline, even if I'm not clicking, I should be rendering these points here. So let me see, stroke, color, stroke weight. Now fill is going to be whatever fill color we have. Yes, begin shape, and then I'm going to go over all the points, and then I'm going to render them. And then the last one that I'm going to render is the mouse. Exactly, and I'm going to end the shape here. You see? So right now, I should be in the middle of drawing this polyline. And then what I want now is to click here. And then the next thing I do is I add another point to shape mode. So for example, if mouse is pressed, if shape mode is polyline, I'm going to add another point here. Oh my God, here. Can I read properties of undefined? Reading type. Mouse released. Because when I'm releasing the mouse, I'm adding this shape here. Okay, if shape is different than undefined, then add it to the shapes, okay? All right, so this is looking good. Okay, so this is looking good. And now we need a way to finish the polyline, to say, okay, I'm done. What is that going to look like? How do we finish this? So I would like to do snapping. I would like to do like when you click very close to the starting point, then you finish the polyline. But that's going to come later. First, I would like to have some kind of enter or something. So something we could do here is we can add another key. How do we catch for enter? Other. If key code equals enter. So let's just print to the console, enter was hit. I don't know if this works, but let's say I'm here, enter, enter, yes. So if key code is enter, so what do we do here? What we do is we finish if shape mode equals polyline, then shape polyline points are going to be shape points. stroke color, stroke width, and then fill color is fill color, dock, shapes push, enter, and shape points is done. Okay, I think that could work. So let's do it. I'm going to press enter, and then the polyline is probably, so you can see that the background and in the shapes I have a polyline. Let me show this. I have a polyline with the properties and all the points here, and it's not showing up right now because enter is not showing up because we haven't implemented here in the drawing shapes. We don't have here a case where we read if the shape is a polyline and then we draw it. So what we're going to do is here. So case, if this is a polyline, then we're going to do stroke is a stroke color, stroke weight, fill color, begin shape. We're going to go over all the shapes, and then no mouse, no mouse, and then end shape here, and then we break. Okay, and all of this is going to be docked here, pom pom, enter. And it should be drawing here. So is the dock? Yes. So the shapes polyline, begin shape, vertex, all the points, end shape. I don't understand why it's not drawing this. Oh, why is it drawing 2 now? Ah, sorry, because it's shape dot shape points, shape dot points. Actually, we save them as points. Maybe we should call them vertices. It will be a little nicer. We can do that. Shape vertices, for example. And then here we're gonna call them vertices, there you go. Here, enter. Here. Oh, what is this? This is cool. Ah, no, because it's, okay. Shape dot vertices. That was an interesting fail. Here, and there you go. And now we start another one. Here, and then done. Here, and then done. All right. Okay, I think we are. And then I change color, and here, and done. And this is looking cool. All right. And then pink. And enter. Okay. All right. Morena. Maybe try making every shape drawn to be a random color. I mean, that could be fun. That could be a mode we could implement. But since we're trying to make it a bit more user control, this idea of like random colors might be a little too much for this example. But this could be a really cool other example. Jay, alone. How you doing, sir? Okay, I think this is pretty good. I think this was... All right, so we start with polyline mode. We start with the shapes. The next, what did we do? The next thing we do is we implement a polyline. We implement a polyline mode. Yes. And then we enter this. Oh, coding, I'm leaving. Yeah, that's what I like doing Friday mornings. I like scaring people out on YouTube. Yes, Demo 404. This is a coding channel. If you're not into coding, I'm sorry, but I did already my all the goofing and all the. Mhm. All right, so I'm gonna copy all of this here and I'm gonna put it here on the side so that I don't forget what we did. Okay. And actually, wait. Ah, that's unfortunate because here it is very nice here because I have the highlights with the diffs of what I have changed. I wonder if we can keep that somehow. We could keep it if I had. Yeah, that is quite nice actually. Can I have a window somewhere else where I can see this? But the problem is that I did that on the file that I'm versioning it, which I'm going to undo for the tutorial. Hmm. Oh, so you were joking. All right, all right. I like it that you're nerdy like we are here. Okay. So then let me I guess I'm gonna have to deal with this. I don't know. How do I, because I really, really want to do this, keeping the changes, because it's really helpful. Well, I don't know how to do it. Oh, I know how to do it. I'm gonna do it the brute force way. That's bad. I'm just gonna copy the entire repo somewhere else with all the changes, and then that's the file that I'm going to load. Can you believe that? Okay, pcamp, GitHub, copy, and because I am reading, yes. Oh, no, 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 no. Wait. Here, tutorial files. Okay. No, here, tutorial files. Exactly. There you go. And I'm going to open a new thingy. No. Sorry, I'm doing it in my other window. Tutorial files. And I should be seeing the changes exactly. There you go. Very good. Yep, I managed to do it, folks. We're good. We got this. So now I can go here and basically undo all the changes because I have those changes on my other window here. And then we can see them from there. Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to actually do the recording. And I need to remind myself to record the intro. Okay. And then what are we going to do? Where are we going to start? Okay. We did fill color, stroke, shape mode, etc. Okay. All right. All right. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to implement a mode called polyline that we can switch to. The next thing is I'm going to think, what do I need? And then I'm going to implement like a hard-coded version of it. Okay. And then after that, we're going to build next to, with the mouse, adding more points. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Well, where do we start? We probably want to start by the beginning is typically a good place to start, like they said in the movie. So if what we want to do is we want to implement a new mode to draw a new kind of shape that we didn't have before, this is going to be polyline, then the first thing we probably want to do is go to the key interaction part, where by pressing some of the keys, we change the mode of the shape that we were drawing. And then what we're going to do here is if we press the letter P, I'm going to create a new mode that is going to be called polyline. All right. And then just for debugging, I think I'm going to already start in polyline mode right away. So if I now go to the app, you can see that I get errors because I don't have polyline mode. I don't know what to do, etc., etc., right? So, and then the next thing that I would like to do is I'm going to implement the basics of what this polyline mode could look like. Before we actually get into mouse interaction, adding points, whatever, one way that is typically good to start implementing these things is to prototype what this polyline mode would look like in a hard-coded way. What that means is that I'm going to imagine that I was already halfway through drawing the polyline, and I'm going to implement what I would need code-wise in order for this polyline to show up. And I'm going to do that all without mouse interaction, just to prototype the data structure that I'm going to be using for the polyline, if you will. So if I'm going to be drawing a polyline, what I would need somewhere in my code is to have a sense or a memory, if you will, of all the points that I have drawn or that I have clicked on the canvas so far up to the point where I am drawing. Imagine, again, I'm going to prototype, imagining that I'm halfway to drawing one of these polylines. Just like before, we had this variable called last clicked that we used for drag and drop operations. What I may want to do here is I may want to create another variable, and I'm going to call this, for example, shape points or something like that, which is going to be an array where I'm going to keep all the points that I have clicked so far. So I'm going to call this, for example, shape points. All right. It's going to be an array. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to store a bunch of points in this object XY format. So this is going to be an object with two properties, X and Y. And then I'm going to add another one and another one and another one, for example. And I think this is going to be like a square or something like this. All right. So I'm going to imagine, and again, I'm going to hard code this for the time being because I want to prototype myself being halfway through drawing one of these polylines. All right. So now I have a variable that contains a collection of the points that I have already clicked on. All right. Then what I would like to do is I would like to render those points as a polyline. So remember that in this for loop, we had a for loop for drawing all the shapes that we had in the document model, all right, in the shapes array. So that's not the one that I want to do. I want to draw in the one where we are currently interacting with the document, all right? Now, in this case, it's going to be slightly different because the kind of interaction that I want is I want to click once, then I want to click another time, another time, another time. I'm not going to be click and dragging for the polyline. Therefore, that's the reason why in this case, I'm not going to add my mode inside of the whether if the mouse is press conditional. I'm going to do it outside because I may want to still draw that polyline even though I'm not actively pressing the button at that point. So I'm going to draw here, draw polyline, and then I'm going to do here, if the shape is a polyline, then I'm going to try this out. So I'm going to change the stroke to the color. I'm going to change the stroke weight to the color. This is a wrong auto-completion. So what I want is I will also like to change the fill to the current fill color that I'm using for the drawing. And then in P5.js, the way to draw a multiple point polyline is using this syntax where you notify to P5 that you want to start a shape. Then you call as many vertices with their coordinates as you want. And then you signal that you want to end the shape with this function. So this is a for loop where I'm going to go over all the points in this temporary array where I'm holding them, and I'm going to one by one draw them by their X and Y coordinates. All right. So I'm going to save this, and then you can see that immediately already I get a polyline with a fill color for those 3 vertices that I had hard-coded. Okay. Beautiful. This is looking great so far. Now, as I said, imagine that I am halfway through drawing this polyline. Part of the interaction that I want is I want all the previous points that I have clicked on to show up as part of the polyline, but I also want, as I'm moving my mouse, to get a sense of where the next click or where the next point that I would click on would look like polyline wise, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw all the vertices that I have in the array, but then I'm going to add the last one is going to be one where that is going to be where I'm currently holding my mouse. What that's going to make is it's going to create for this very nice real-time interaction of, oh, this is what it's going to look like if I click here or here or here. But you can see that right now the clicking is still not working. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at how to implement that clicking. Oh, good. Just why JavaScript though? I would have thought you dislike JavaScript JL. What is your view of JavaScript versus Python? Oh boy, you opening the can of worms. Oh boy. Well, long story short, Nicholas, I do not like Python a lot, but for some reason I do actually like JavaScript a lot. And I think the main reason that I like JavaScript compared to Python is not performance, because obviously JavaScript is worse than Python, even though Python is not great either. But it's because JavaScript is more, there's 3 reasons actually. JavaScript is C-like, which I like. I like C-like languages. The second one is that it's great for web, and I really like web technologies. I think everything should be a web app. I don't know why we still have desktop apps in the world, but just an opinion. I think like computers in the future are basically going to be a browser. Like the OS is going to be a browser, and there's going to be nothing outside of that browser. And every app, every software should be browser based. Like, I don't know why we still have to install stuff and like, anyway. And which is basically what happens with apps on your phone in a way. And the third reason is that there's something weird about JavaScript being so flexible and so mutable and so like malleable that I really, really enjoy in a very nasty way almost. Mr. P, welcome. Good to see you from the Philippines. That is awesome. All right. Okay. So, so what is the next thing we need to do? The next thing we need to do is we have that. Yes, what we said is we need to implement the mouse click. Okay. All right. We need to implement the mouse click. And then all right, let's do it. Let's start by looking at everywhere that we have mouse interactions, right? So let me restart this. So if I go here and I click to add a new vertex, the place that gets called first is mouse pressed, all right? And then mouse press, what you can see is that we're adding to last clicked, we're adding X, Y, and blah, blah, blah. So something that we can do is we can say, if the shape that we are at is a polyline, something that I will also want to do is I would like to add to the shape points array, I would also like to add the object representing where my mouse was, so that I keep adding vertices and vertices to this shape points array. Okay, so let's try that. So if I do that and I click here, I still get this error. So actually, let's take a look at this error. So cannot read the properties of undefined, blah, 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 whatever. Well, long story short, we could try to debug this manually, but I'm going to cut to the chase. The problem that we have is that the other part that triggers when I click my mouse is the function called mouse released. So the first one that triggers is mouse pressed. I add the point to the array, that is fine. And then the next one is mouse released. If you remember from previous videos, in mouse release, what we did is that anytime I let the mouse go, I was assuming that I was in the middle of drawing a shape. And therefore what happened was I had this shape, and then depending on the shape mode, I would create a shape object of one type of or the other, ellipse, rectangle, line. And then at the very end, I ended up adding that shape to the document, all right? The problem here is that for polyline, because we want to have this continuous click, 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 click interaction, necessarily we may not want to add the polyline that we're working on to the document model for real forever. We may not want to add it yet every time we unclick. So what this means is that we don't want to add a case here where we say, if we are in polyline mode, then add the polyline yet. We want to do that purposefully at some point, right? And also what's happening is that because we don't have, when we're in polyline mode, because it's not an ellipse or a rectangle or whatever, the shape constant doesn't get assigned an object. It becomes, still is undefined. And therefore, if I do this thing here, let me add. I'm going to add here, and I'm going to see that if I go to the document, you can see that in shapes, the object that gets added is an object that is undefined because it has not been assigned anything. And that is what creates the error. So the way to fix this is by saying if the shape is different than undefined, so if someone has assigned an actual shape to this, then add it to the document. If not, then just don't add a null or an undefined object. So now, I don't know if you can tell, but this is very cool. We are adding constantly more and more points to the shape. And if I actually click here, shape points, you can see that right now is 19 points, all the ones that I have clicked, all right? Which is pretty cool, all right? Great, fantastic. Now, what do we need to do now? Well, I mean, at this point, we can click all the points. We can make this as complex as we want, but there should be a way to actually take this polyline and make it now permanently part of the document and move on to a new shape. Excuse me, create a new shape. I don't know what that looks like, or create another polyline, etc., etc. So how could we do this? We're going to do it two different ways. One is going to be purposefully finishing the polyline. So that's going to be with some kind of key interaction. And then at the end of this video, what I would like to do is I would like to try to see if we can do some kind of snapping to the first point. So if I click and I'm very close to the first point in the array, I'm going to automatically shut down this polyline. All right, but we will do that by the end of the video. So how are we going to do this? Well, here in colors, in the key interaction part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement that if I press enter, then I'm going to finish the polyline, all right? So how are we going to do that? I'm going to go all the way here, and I'm going to draw, for example, here, shapes. I'm going to add here shape interactions, for example. And I'm going to say here, if the key, and in P5, keys, we cannot really type if key equals enter. The way we do it in P5 is that we have this thing called key codes, which is a special variable for keys that don't have a character representation. For example, white space, backspace, the tab, and also the escape key and the enter keys. So if key code is going to be enter, and enter is basically a environment variable or a system variable that belongs to the P5 library. If key code is enter, then let me, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to basically do a couple things. I'm going to empty the, I'm going to create a new shape. So I'm going to call this shape. And then I'm going to here, I'm going to say the type is going to be, oh, and I'm sorry, and I forgot. I'm only going to do this if the shape mode is equal to polyline. All right. That was very important. So I'm going to create a shape object that I'm going to push to the document. All right. So the type is going to be shape mode, and then I'm going to add, for example, vertices equals shape points, and then fill color is the fill color, the stroke color is the stroke color, and the stroke weight is the stroke weight. All right. Good. We are there. And then once we have created this shape object, I'm going to push it to the array of shapes in the document. All right. The document being, remember, this virtual database that we're using for storing all the shapes in. And then after that, I'm going to reset the points. I'm going to say the points that I was using to draw, I just want to empty them and start from scratch. All right. Beautiful. So let's see if this works. I'm going to click here, here, and here, and then I'm going to press enter, and oops, the shape disappeared. All right. Okay, no panic, no panic. Let's see if we actually added it to the document. So I'm going to go to the console, I'm going to press doc, I'm going to inspect the doc variable, and you can see that in shapes, I have an object of the type polyline, it has the colors, and it has the 6 vertices. So this is looking good. Why did it disappear though? Well, it did disappear because if you remember, we had two main for loops in our main draw function. One was to draw the shapes that we were currently manipulating, and the ones draw shapes that we are currently manipulating, creating. All right. And so that was one, and we kind of added the polyline there. But then we had the other one, which was draw the shapes from the document. And for this one, we had the ellipse, the rectangle, the line, but we have not added a case for the polyline. So that's kind of what we need to do now. So what we need to do here is we need to say, if we are in a polyline, let's make anything that we knew that we require. Let's change everything we require so that we can draw that polyline that was stored in memory. So I'm going to change the stroke color, the stroke weight based on the shape. I'm going to change the fill color, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Begin shape, I'm going to go through all the vertices, and I'm going to end the shape. And that's it. And is this going to work? Let me try. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to press enter, and boom, the polyline stays there. Can I draw another one? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to press enter. The polyline stays there. Ta-da! This is awesome. It's working, I think. Beautiful. This is great. Okay. What do we need to do now? Nicholas, but do you agree? Or because I can smell a little bit of Python-ness in you, huh? Are you a Python person? It's okay. This is a safe space. Mostly, I will only shame you a little bit, but in a funny, friendly way. All right. So what else are we missing here? Uh, so I think we are good based on, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good with what we prototyped before. Hey, Lamarache, good to see you. You've been in mostly every live stream we've done this year, huh? Fantastic. It's nice, very nice. So what is next? What I would like to do next is some troubleshooting. So let's make sure that this actually works well in different cases. What that means is that I'm going to now turn off ellipse, then turn off this like halfway prototyping, and I'm going to like stress test this in a different way. Like for example, let's say that I am drawing a polyline, but I don't finish it, and then I switch to a different mode, and I go back, how is that going to look like? All right. Okay. Let's do that. I think at this point it's probably going to be good to do some stress testing. What do I mean by that? We have implemented a new feature, and very often when we do this in apps that start becoming a bit more complex, it's common that this feature may not work in all possible scenarios, may break other things. So I'm going to try to now undo everything that I did to prototype this. So for example, I'm going to undo the fact that we already start with 3 points out of the box. So I would like to start with no points. I would also like to start from a shape mode that is not polyline. And then I'm going to basically use the app for a little bit. So I'm going to draw in an ellipse here, another ellipse here. I'm going to change to polyline. I'm going to draw a polyline, press enter, the polyline is there. I'm going to switch to line. I'm going to switch to another line. So it's looking good, right? But now let's try to misuse this. So for example, let's say I switch to polyline, all right? And halfway, instead of pressing enter, I'm going to switch to a different mode, like rectangle. What I see is what I expected. So the polyline disappears and it doesn't actually go into the document. I create a new rectangle, but now I'm finding it weird because the rectangle, I need to drag and drop it instead of 2 clicks, which is what I would do with the polyline. So the UI interaction is feeling a bit weird. Anyway, but now if I go back to polyline, what just happened here? I went back to the polyline that I had before. Why is that? Well, it turns out that when I switched from polyline to rectangle, I still had the array with the 3 vertices. And then when I switch back to polyline, the 3 vertices that I was using in shape points remain there. So I think something that I would need to implement is that whenever I switch to polyline mode, what I would like to do is I would like to make sure that I reset the array that had all these points from whoever was using it before me, correct? So let's see if now this works. I have an ellipse. I'm going to change to a polyline. I'm going to change to rectangle. The ellipse disappears. And then if I switch to polyline, I start from scratch again, all right? I press enter, the polyline stays there. I switch to rectangle. I make another one. I'm going to switch to ellipse. And then I switch to polyline and I start from another one. So things are looking all right. So you can see that by stress testing the app, I found a small bug that I could fix. Okay, beautiful. I think at this point we are ready to try to implement snapping to the first vertex in the polyline. All right, great. Now, how are we going to do that? Let's prototype this. So we are going to, where we would do this, we would do it in shape mode polyline. All right, and then we're going to add this, and then here we're going to check if the distance between, shapes point 0 and shape point 0 and mouse X and mouse Y, oh my God, if this is smaller than, for example, let's say 5 pixels, then we're going to do the closing the shape. All right, so let's try this out. Freaking Copilot is just so good. Okay, so I'm going to what? If shape points dot length is greater than, when are we going to do this? If it's greater than 3, and okay, so I'm going to switch to polyline 1, 2, 3, and then here, boom, snap, and snap, pop, pop, pop. Yes, okay, because we need to snap it. So the last point that we should add should be the same point itself. So that was a good catch. So that's why we need to prototype these things. Let's say that we crank this up to 20, okay, just to make sure. No, this is 3 and this is 20. Here, polyline, 1, 2. You see, it snaps, but it should actually snap to the point. And then all of these, we're going to turn into a function. All right. Okay. Beautiful. So let's rewrite this in a nicer way. Okay. So where were we? Okay, let's do this. This is actually going to be quite simple. So what we want is, as I am drawing a polyline, where are my polylines? Why can I not draw a polyline now? Oh my God, what have I done? Sorry, I'll doing this again. Why can I not draw a polyline? What have I done? Oh, because I removed, yeah. Okay, because I'm not adding, yes, exactly. Okay, all right. So this is actually going to be fairly straightforward. So what we want is, as I am drawing a polyline, and whenever I click, what I want to do is, if I click in a place that is close enough to the previous, to the first point in the buffer that we're using, what I want to do is I want to detect that I am close to that, snap that vertex to the first one, and then close the polyline and add it to my document. The first place where I would like to do this is whenever I am detecting those mouse presses. So if you remember, right now here we have the function mouse press, and if I am in polyline mode, I always add this point, which is whatever the coordinates of my mouse is, right? So what am I going to do here? Well, I would like to slightly improve this and say, before I add any point, what I want to do is I want to check if where I am right now, mouse X and mouse Y, is close enough to the first point in the polyline, all right? So for example, I would like to say here, I'm going to define a variable. I'm going to say should snap, and I'm going to initialize that to false. And I'm going to say if the length of the points that I'm working with is greater than 0, if I have at least 1 point, okay? And at the same time, the distance between, the distance between mouse X and mouse Y and dist is a function that lives inside of P5.js. I could do this with the Pythagorean theorem, etc., etc., but I'm just going to use a shortcut here. And then the X coordinate of the first point in the array and the Y coordinate in the first point of the array, if the distance is less than, for example, some kind of value, I'm going to say, for example, 20. If that is the case, then what I would like to do is I would like to say that should snap is going to be equal to true. All right. So this is the way that I'm going to do to detect whether if the last point should be snapping or not. And then I'm just going to should snap here. And all right, so let's see if this works. I'm going to start my polyline. 1, 2, 3, should snap, false, false. And then as I get close, should snap is true. And false, 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 should snap is true. All right. Okay, so this is looking good. So now what I need to do is I need to make sure that if I'm going to add the point, all right, and then if should snap is true, then what am I going to do here? I'm just going to basically close the polyline, all right, and do what I did before, which is create a shape, add all the vertices, the stroke color, the fill color, add that shape to the document, and then reset the array with the points, all right? Let's give this a try. So polyline, 1, 2, 3. Wait, polyline, 1, 2. Ooh, why am I not switching to the polyline? What have I done? Oh, yes, sorry. Polyline, let me reset. I had the caps lock on, so I was switching to pink color basically. So P, 1, 2, 3, and you can see that I only clicked and then that the polyline got added automatically. And if I go to doc, you can see that the polyline has been added permanently to the document model. All right. Now, what's weird though is that we can see this gap here. All right. And we don't want the gap. We want the point to snap perfectly to this. So what should we have done? Well, what we should have done is if should snap is true, then probably the point that I want to add, I'm going to cancel this. Probably the point that I want to add in that case is not where my mouse is, but it's basically a copy of the first point. So I'm going to add here the copy of the first point and a copy of the first point, and then I'm going to add the shape to the array, etc., etc. Otherwise, if it wasn't true, then I do add to the array, I basically add a point with my mouse X and my mouse Y coordinates. Okay, so let's see if this works. So I'm going to switch to polyline mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, and here you see that there's a little gap. I'm gonna click and boom, you see how it snapped into the place? 1, 2, 3, and boom, snap into place. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful! This is awesome! And I have in my document, I have my 4 shapes, the tiny ellipse that I did, and the 3 polylines that I just created. Fantastic! This is working great. Now, one tiny thing that I would like to do, this part of the code and the one that I had somewhere down here, yeah, when I press enter, these two are identical. And they're basically saying, push the polyline to the document, right? So because I don't want to have the same code in different places, this is really bad practice. It's much better to create a function just to do that. So I'm going to create a function here. I'm going to call this add poly to document, all right? And whenever I call this, I'm going to basically do this entire thing again. I'm going to say that polyline is this and the shape and blah, 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 whatever. Basically the same code that I had before. And now what I want to do is replace anywhere that I had this chunk of code with a call to this function. This makes the code much easier to maintain because I only have to change things in one place as opposed to multiple places. If I now want to make changes to how I add the polyline to the document, I only need to do it in one single place, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then enter, 1, 2, 3, enter, 1, 2, enter. And if I download this, I can open it. And where are my downloads here? And if I upload this, boom, my shape shows up in perfect. All right. Well, that was very cool. Is there anything else that I want to add for this? Let me think about this for a second. All right, folks, this is important. Do you think, is there any feature or any other thing that we should clean up? That we should change? Well, one thing I would like to do is maybe this is a hard-coded number that I don't like. We don't like hard-coded numbers. So maybe this should be a variable. That is something we can change. But I'm going to give you a couple minutes if you think there's something that relates to drawing these polylines that we should change before we wrap up this video. Give it some thought. Burning neurons here. What do you think? We could do the snap distance as a function, as a variable. Okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, then I'm just going to do that then. Where did we have? Yeah. Well, the only thing that I would like to change is that I don't quite like hard-coded numbers. So if you remember when we calculated the distance between the last mouse click and the first point, I basically hard-coded 20 as the smallest distance, but I really don't like to do that. So I'm much more of the type of person who would like to create a constant here, for example, and this is going to be, for example, snap distance, right? And I'm going to call this 20. And it is common in JavaScript that when you declare a variable that you do not intend to ever change in value, you both make it a constant variable type, but at the same time, you uppercase the name of the variable. So I'm going to call this snap distance. I'm going to define it to 20, and this value will never change in the life of the program. And here I'm going to compare it to this so that if at some point I just want to change this number and make it 100 or make it 5, as the programmer of this app, I should have an easy way to do that, right? That this is what's typically referred to as writing programmatic code, or code that is very easy to readapt and reuse to different cases. All the other variables are not constant and are lowercase because most of these may change over the life of the program, the colors, the stroke widths, the shape types, etc., etc. Okay? All right, beautiful. I think with this, I feel very complete about this video and the new feature that we have added to our vector drawing app, which is the possibility of drawing polylines. I think I am very excited about this idea of like multiple vertex shape adding, whatever. So I wonder if the next video that we should record is drawing splines or drawing curves in a similar manner to what we've done here. Maybe that's what we're gonna do in the next video. Anyway, whatever it is, you will find it in the next video after this one in this playlist, web app drawing apps or something like that. Okay. Well, that was great. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you found it useful, maybe you want to like the video, subscribe to the channel, say hi on Discord, leave a comment, whatever that looks like for you. All right. Thanks a lot and see you on the next video, whatever that is. Bye bye. All right. And then we're going to record the introduction. Okay, so so how are we going to record the introduction? Okay, I'm just going to run through a quick demo of what we're going to do. Hello, this is Jose Luis here at Parametric Camp, and welcome to another video in this series, Web-Based Drawing Apps, in which it looks like we're going to incrementally, over the course of multiple videos, we're going to build up features into a vector-based or vector-inspired online drawing app. If you remember from the previous videos, we already built this app where we can draw simple shapes and we can actually change the color between them. And those shapes were reduced to either ellipses, rectangles, and or lines, right? So what I would like to do in this video is I would like to teach you how to implement a multi-click and drag polyline feature. So that's going to look something like this. I'm going to press P, and then as I press P, you can see that now I am drawing with these multiple clicks. I'm drawing a polyline. So I'm going to finish the polyline by pressing enter, and now the polyline is part of my document. I'm going to switch colors to orange, and I'm going to show you another feature that I'm going to implement in this video, which is that as I am drawing the polyline is going to smartly recognize if I am close to the first point that I drew, and if I am, it's going to immediately snap to the first vertex of the polyline, and it's going to let me start a new polyline. So it's going to make drawing closed polylines much easier. All right, beautiful. So let's get hands-on and let me teach you how to implement drawing polylines. Beautiful. And then I'm going to draw this and this. Okay, fantastic. So, woo, how was that? Okay. All right, great. So I think with that, I'm going to leave it here today. I have a tiny surprise prepared for my partner for birthday, so I need to go and get it ready, actually. All right, any comments, any questions before I take off? Beautiful people in the chat. Do I have water anywhere here? I don't have water. I still have coffee. All right, well, if there are no questions or comments, hopefully I will see you again next week, Friday morning, my time, wherever that finds you. By morning, I mean 9 a.m. East Coast time. You are welcome to calculate what that looks like on your end. Again, if you want to make sure you're up to date with when do we go live, we have a Google Calendar in the description of this video where you can subscribe and you will get a notification. And I typically also announce on Discord, like I make like this Discord wide announcement like, hey guys, we're going live in 1 hour, get ready, it's going to be fun, we're going to be talking about such and such thing. Okay, all right, beautiful. Then with that, I'm going to call it a day. I have stuff to do, and I guess I'll see you next week again, and we're going to continue. We're going to do splines next time we meet. Okay, we could have done it today. It's probably going to be a short video, but whatever. All right, bye bye. Thank you, folks. Bye.